Hello everyone, a very, very warm welcome to this conference and to this session. My name is Kelly and I want to invite you to take a look at a research project, but mostly a design project in which we wanted to make a tool to help young biotechnologists to design from an integral perspective. And we're in the midst of this process right now, so please let me know if you have any thoughts, questions, or suggestions for further improvement during this process, because we would really, really love to hear from you. So engage with us at the discussion board, and also click over there on the hyperlink to the Mural platform where I shared the tool that we have been developing, so that you can take a look at it and explore it yourself or through this video. And you can also leave your comments over there. So to start off like this, why exactly is it that we're doing this? We recognize that biotechnologies worldwide are developing really quickly, and they are met with a public reaction that ranges from hope to fear. And that public reaction makes the future of biotechnologies at the very least a little uncertain. At the same time, we recognize that Sustainable Development Goals are not met, or we're not on track to meet them by 2030. Which, the thing is that biotechnologies are intended to contribute to sustainability and are intended to contribute to fix the problems that we're at right now. But they're not living their full potential right now. And we think that this can be improved or enhanced, and we think we can tackle that at the very start, at the design process, because they have to, at introduction, be safe, needed, and wanted, and they have to be regarded as such by society. The thing is, if you look at a lot of examples of biotechnologies that are at the verge of being introduced or have been introduced, for instance Ecover, a company who wanted to replace palm oil in their detergent products by using oils that were made by synthetically modified algae, they were met with major public criticism, whereas in the end they needed to decide to return to palm oil products. Another example is the golden rice case, where they genetically modified the rice to help the vitamin A deficiency, which causes child death significantly and blindness. But also this was met with public protests and criticism, making it nearly unused worldwide right now. So if we want them to be safe, needed, and wanted, and regarded as such, we need to find a way that biotechnologies, if brought into the world, are the best possible version that they could be. How do we do that? And we think that and this is our goal, that we should be designing technologies with and for societies. That idea, that frame of thought, is nothing new. The academic disciplines of responsible research and design, and responsible research and innovation, and safe by design say the same thing. And we have founded our tool based on these thoughts and these previous scholars, and we were inspired by it, but we wanted to bring it to practice. We wanted to create a tool that helps people think in this way, not necessarily by using these terms or these frames. So let's see, we made two choices at the onset of our project that I briefly want to introduce to you. First off, we are tackling this problem by looking at the young biotechnologists, and we reach the young biotechnologists through two pilots. In November, we conducted a pilot with the international conference iGEM, where young students all over the world are exploring synthetic biology in teams, and they are making projects, real life projects, to pitch and bring into the world, real life solutions. And the second pilot that we conducted was at our own institute at the VU University of Amsterdam, with a master's course in ethics and life sciences. In that way, we wanted to test our tool and develop our tool with young biotechnologists. And as I've said, we made a design tool, and we choose to make a tool for this design because it helps people to start thinking about the world integrally and their product integrally from the very, very, very earliest phase onwards. Why that is, I can best explain by the use of Collingridge dilemma, which is this sentence. It states, when change is easy, the need for it cannot be foreseen. And you can see that like at the introduction of ethyl fluid in cars, in the fuels. Thank you, brain. In fuels, it was not easy to foresee what big of a structure this would be and what big of negative impacts this would have. But at the time the need for change was apparent, it had become very expensive, difficult, and time-consuming. The thing is, we believe that you can, to some degree, foresee what change is needed. And we need to help the young biotechnologists at the very early phases to think about the whole process, the whole idea, and the whole contribution or impact that their technologies might have on the world throughout its lifetime and throughout the spin-offs and the futures of this technology. So how can we get to that to some degree? How can we get to that feel, that grip of anticipation on these interactions between the world and your work? So the process that we've been doing. So now that we have had these two frames, we're building a tool for young biotechnologists to design biotechnologies with and for societies. We've conducted a literature review and had some interviews, and I need to click here. Yes, and we had 2 pilots. We've done those already, and now we're at the phase of improving our learning instruments. And we very, very, very welcome any feedback or thoughts that you may have, again, in the discussion box. And I have the chance right now to share with you the design tool that we have developed. You can already click on the link if you want, but this is how we pitch, how we introduce people to this topic. Namely, we invite the young biotechnologists to have 2 frames of thought at the same time. One is, how can my project optimally realize beneficial societal impacts on the world? And the second is, how can my project have minimal safety risks and unwanted societal impacts on the world? And if you combine this innovation frame of thought and this precautionary frame of thought, you get to the frame that our tool proposes, namely this ring. In the middle, you focus on your biotechnology, on your project. It can be a case, it can be a real biotechnology, and on the outside, you think of all of the different interactions that your technology might have with the world. And we divided that interaction into 5 dimensions of interaction. Namely, what needs and problems in the world need solving, what safety considerations are important, what alternative solutions exist and how do they compare to your design, how may stakeholders perceive and discuss your biotech project, and of course, what is the future of this technology? What may happen in the future? For each of these dimensions of interaction, we invite the students or the participant or the user of this tool to move from your focus on your biotechnological design and think about this dimension of interaction through an exercise. Once you have thought about the many stakeholders and how they may perceive and discuss your design, any tensions that there might be, you define your takeaways. So what do you take? What does this mean for your design of your biotechnology? What can you already design within your biotechnology, but also within the monitoring of its growth or at the market's aftercare once it is been sold? So what can you design to make it an optimal product? And that looks a little bit like this, and I'm gonna show you in in an by sharing my screen, and you can click on the link in the discussion board in order to access this. So let me go here. Yes, awesome. This works. Oh my god, great. This is what the learning tool looks like. This is just a website. You can access it. It's on the platform of Merle, and we designed this massive whiteboard that you can engage with. Might be a little bit overwhelming at first. That's why we also have this outline on the side. You can click. If you click on this, for instance, you automatically go to the exercise when you think about the future of your technology. Here's the ring that you recognized already. I can zoom in on it a little bit. And what you see is that we've added the takeaways from each of these exercises in the middle, very close to your biotechnological design. These are part of your design right now, after you've done the exercises. So it doesn't matter where you start when you are thinking about a biotechnology or something that you want to introduce to the world, and you can go and start thinking about one of these interactions. So let's start up here. What you do is, we've made these exercises. For instance, we have if you want to start thinking about the needs, problems, and potential impacts of your work, we have developed a deck of care cards. These are care cards that are linked to the Sustainable Development Goals. These are the numbers of the development goals, and they show data that corresponds to this, to how we're on track towards this development goal. So, for instance, here, 38 million children under the age of 5 were overweight or obese in 2019. That corresponds to the Sustainable Development Goal number 3, and it's a problem that synthetic biology might take care of, but it might also harm it. And that is the structure that we have developed this exercise to be in. So for each of these care cards, you start thinking, might my synthetic biological project contribute to it, or could it have harmful or negative effects on it? You place the card, you can move it. You can move it here, for instance, and then you can start brainstorming about it in here. And of course, on the side of what problems or cards you can contribute to, you think about how can you optimize your care of these issues. And on the side of negative effects that your synthetic biology or biotechnological project might have, you think about how can I minimize these harms. That is just one exercise of 5 that we are in the midst of developing. Here we make scenarios for the future, not just one vision statement of what you want your synthetic biology to be, but 4 scenarios to think of what it could become in the far-fetched future. And to be maybe some futures as well to be wary of, maybe some futures to inspire what you don't want your technology to become or to become part of, and what you should anticipate. We also have an exercise about safety, where we in these columns ask you what risks or uncertainties might occur that could impact your safety, the safety of your product and the future of your product. And in these columns we ask students to think of what they can design differently in order to minimize that harm or even prevent it from happening, or to go about with that uncertainty in a different way. We have the exercise where they think of alternative solutions, other approaches that may solve the same problems or have the same opportunities or face the same opportunities in the world. How do those compare? Am I actually making something that is the best possible solution, and how can I tailor it better to that? We have an exercise where you are mapping the stakeholder and their perspectives onto your biotechnology, and once you have defined what stakeholders are important, and you have defined what their expertise, arguments, values, and feelings might be, you have a good grip on how people may regard your biotechnology. Then you start thinking whether there might be tensions between your biotechnology and the different perspectives on it, and what that impact of that tension might be on your biotechnology, and how you could design it or maybe collaborate with these stakeholders in such a way that that goes as smoothly as possible, and that it incorporates these perspectives and these concerns that people have. It's a work in progress. Please let us know if you have any thoughts, and you can engage with this tool. I just showed it here live, but you can access it and try it out. You can also leave any post-its by double clicking on the fields, and now you see that it's really big, but you can you can make it as big as you want, and this is a beautiful post-it, and then you can share your thoughts with us and say what you think. You can also do that here with tips, tops, and anything else, any other thoughts that you might have. We are very, very happy to receive any feedback that you might have. And now I want to return to the slideshow. I do that by doing this. Yes, bomb. So I've shown you the learning instrument, and I want to briefly share with you how people responded to it. So we have tested the learning instrument with two groups of people, namely in pilot 1, we shared it with the iGEM community, and there were 41 international participants at the Giant Jamboree, their final festival, from very international countries, which is awesome. And we then had a very early version of the tool, and we had guided exercises and live workshops where they were accompanied by a coach to help them in their thinking. In pilot 2, we had 224 master students in the course of ethics and life sciences, and they were divided over 28 teams that were making a biotechnology in a responsible way. And they were doing this in an unguided and voluntary working method. So they were working with the entire tool, and they did not have to use the tool, yet over 2/3 of the master students and their groups made extensive use of the tool in order to inform how to design their biotechnology in a responsible way, which was awesome. I really like that part. Let's go back to this one, because otherwise it will overlap. So what did they say? First off, we found that participants indicated that the learning instruments made them realize how many things can be thought of during the design. For instance, an iGEM participant said that it made them realize that they could have done even more than they already did. A student from Pilot 2 said that you have to think about a lot, which is something that he realized through this learning instrument, which is funny, but also important, because you can think about a lot, and it would be awesome if you think about a lot at the design process already in our perspective. Furthermore, the learning instrument helped students to navigate the complexity. One student said it guided us really well through the different considerations of our technique or of our biotechnology, and it got us thinking and discussing about things that we would have never thought of ourselves. For students who do this kind of thing for the first time, it is a really nice tool. And we hope that the experience is shared by many people. For our reaction so far, it's been mostly positive, so that's really awesome. The third real-life reflection by participants is that it made students realize the importance of interaction on the level of safety, alternatives, stakeholder scenarios, and the needs and problems in the world. iGEM participant reacted, I think this is a very interesting exercise, as last year I didn't know anything about stakeholders and public engagement, so it is great to better understand how I can really know the impact of the project. Another thing that we wanted to test, and I'm still in the process of doing this, so this is a first insight, is whether or not it actually contributes to the design of biotech. I could mostly test this in Pilot 2 because these students were really using the tool for an entire month in order to design a case study. And we saw that, especially at the beginning, there was a really strong correlation between the extent to which they had used the learning tool and the regard of their progress by the teachers. We asked the teachers to reflect which teams are doing really well, and it turned out that when a teacher said that they were doing surprisingly well, they had made extensive use of the mural, which is awesome and really interesting. And I want to learn why that is and in what way it contributed more. So what else? At the very end of this pilot, students frequently use screenshots of this learning instrument in their final presentations to show how they had worked and what it made them realize, which was an indicator to us that it contributed to their design process and to their final design. Also, students indicated that it contributed voluntarily themselves. However, there's a lot that we can still improve. We haven't finished it yet. For instance, we're currently preventing it from being super overwhelming because it's a massive tool and we want it to be even more intuitive than some people already indicated that it is. Nevertheless, a lot of people stated that it is user-friendly, very adaptive to your needs, and intuitive and fun, which is awesome. Another thing that we are questioning and that we want to discuss with you about is, can this tool also contribute next to the learning process to the development of real biotech projects? Because right now we've tested it with participants who used it on a case study of biotechnology rather than their very own design, their very own biotechnological projects. And we cannot be sure how that relates or how that informs each other, although we have high hopes. So to sum up, we intend that our work is an invitation. So dear biotechnologists or young biotechnologists all over the world, let's design biotechnologies by anticipating and focusing on the interaction between the future of the technology and the world. And a few conclusions that I want to make are that during or through our tool, we invite young biotechnologists to zoom out from lab to practice, to explore the interaction between the world and the biotechnology, and don't see this interaction as a barrier or a driver alone, but really an interaction. And make sure to cover at least these 5 dimensions of interactions, because we've learned that it really helps you to cover the whole field of what you should anticipate and what you should consider when you want to prepare your biotechnology for the world. Start designing with this perspective as early as possible, because that helps you to prevent any difficult changes that you need to make later on in the process, and regards the design process as an iterative thing rather than a linear thing, because every phase of your technology should influence the design that you make at present. And now I'm gonna return my face. Oh, how do I do that? Hello. Thank you very, very much for listening to me, and I hope you enjoyed this presentation, but I mostly hope that you feel very welcome to join in the discussion board, and I want to learn from you. Go ahead and let me know what you think, let me know what you want to ask me. My name is Kelly Streekstra, and I worked on this together with Pim Klaassen, Marjoleine van der Meij from the Athena Institute at the Free University of Amsterdam, and I really, really warmly want to thank everyone who's helped us in developing this tool, because that's been a lot of people, and the Ministry of Infrastructure and Environment who has commissioned this project and made it possible for us to work towards this goal. And we really hope that we can continue to do this, which awesome. Thank you. Have a really fun time at the conference. Bye bye.